Thank you so much for joining us today. If you have just entered the room, welcome. This is one of several things that we're going to be doing throughout this year to mark Viva's 30th birthday. So thank you for joining us for this one. We are recording this evening, so if you would prefer not to appear on the recording, please do feel free to turn your camera off, although you shouldn't appear because we'll aim to just have the speakers appearing, but just in case. And for Viva, it always begins with children. And later, you will hear an interview that I did last week with Faye Ferronda, who is the network director of our partner network in the Philippines. But I wanted to begin with a powerful story that she shared during that interview of two girls. In it, she refers to OSEC,
Anladım.
and OSEC stands for Online Sexual Exploitation of Children. So we're going to begin our time together today by listening to this story as told by Faye.
I could mention two girls who were survivors of OSAEC. They were found through the church in the network in Dasmariñas City, whereby Youth for Safety advocates are talking about OSAEC. And the young people, the young advocate, is a member of a church, a Sunday school worker. And then she learned about, we equip her with the right tools. And she began influencing her peers, conducting workshop, and also talking about OSAEC and the crime. And she happens to be invited, or that's part of her role, to be part of a school where she could speak in the school, inside the class. And she spoke in a grade school class of grade 4s and grade 3s. And she narrated about uh, what is OSAEC, how it is being done, and uh, how to report, because these are very young children. How to report, who to talk to, who do you trust, that you could tell your story. And so after that, she went home and she go on with her usual self. And a report came through the young child. And because the story behind is that the young child went home, a grade 4 student, around 11 years old, went home and tell her grandmother that what that young person lady is talking about is happening to me and uh, and my younger sister. So they are being abused online, and the family is not aware of that because it is being done by a neighbor. And so the grandmother went to the church pastor and narrated the story about the child being abused. The pastor, who is connected with us, informed us, and we asked International Justice Mission to help process uh, the the experience, and also the investigator, to really ensure that this is OSAE. And so after that, uh, the girls were rescued from the home, and the perpetrator was caught. And then is now in jail. The young people is now maybe high school students now, and they are studying. They have been cared for by a shelter member of PCMN, where they were placed, and they were supported by PCMN actually. In their stay there, like we provided the social worker, the caseworker, and also provided some inputs like materials, and also some uh, maintenance for food and transportation for the young girls. And they are studying, and now they are rescued from that situation. So Yeah, it happens, but there are meaning. There were people who care for children, and without that program on anti-OSAC, without the church engagement, without the young people engagement, without the training provided by PCMN, there would be no rescue. This is just one and two child. These are just siblings, two children, but there were many more. We were able to rescue, help rescue, and support towards their uh, healing. And also this young peer influencer, this young advocate, uh, was successful in her role. She was used by the Lord in this role, and she was able to help rescue two children in the process. So if many people are working together, children will be saved.
I love that story. And while I'm speaking, I would encourage you over the next minute to write short prayers of thanks to God for that story. And I love that story the most because two girls are now safe and beginning their healing journey. But I love all the different components, parts of that story because it illustrates what we believe can happen when churches and organizations in a city, in a country, come together to work better with one another to make more impact in the lives of children. There was the training provided by the network, PCMN, the Philippines Children Ministry Network. I love it that it was about youth advocates. It was about training young people to engage with such an important issue. It demonstrates how churches are trusted in their communities and are really well placed to meet needs that exist in their communities. It's demonstrated the importance of supporting church leaders who can sometimes feel out of their depth when dealing with issues like this. But the team at PCMN was on hand to support them in knowing what to do when they heard about this issue. And I love the fact that this was possible because of a network approach. It wasn't just one organization. There were many different organizations that were alongside this church and these youth advocates, and most importantly, alongside these girls and their family in addressing this issue. So I love this story, and I think that's a great way to start our time together. And at the beginning of our time, I would also like to say save the date for later this year. So on the 11th of November, we will be having our big online birthday celebration. And this will be for all our partner networks. It will be for staff and volunteers and supporters, past and present, and we hope some future ones as well. So this will be at an earlier time. It will be in the middle of the day UK time. So for our American friends, it will be very early. I apologize. And for our friends on the east of the world, it will be quite late. But this is the time where we think we can get as many people as possible from around the world to celebrate together what God has done through the Viva network over the past 30 years. So do save that date. Now, the world has changed a lot over the past 3 decades, which means that the context our partner networks work in has changed a lot as well. And this means that the needs and opportunities have also changed. But when it comes to Viva, three things have remained constant. It's always about children at risk, it's about churches, and it's about collaboration. And sadly, half the world's children will experience some form of physical, sexual, or emotional violence this year. That's more than 1 billion at-risk children. But good news is churches and faith-based organizations are already rooted in their communities. Many of them are already working faithfully and tirelessly to make a difference in the lives of children. And many more could be inspired and equipped to do so. And then it's all about collaboration. We know that by working together, these churches and organizations can make a bigger, better, and longer lasting impact in the lives of children. That's true at the local level, in communities, cities, and countries. By working together, they can have more impact. And it's also true at a global level. In the beginning, Viva was very much about both of these types of collaboration, both collaborating locally and collaborating globally. And that idea has been very much part of our refocusing as we've approached our 30th birthday year, about enabling collaboration locally and globally. I recently asked Patrick MacDonald, Viva's founder, how global events like 9/11 and wars and financial crises impacted Viva. And his comment surprised me. He said that in many ways, they hadn't impacted Viva and our partner networks as much as you'd think. Because through it all, on the ground, in communities around the world, the people of God kept on faithfully serving children. No matter what was going on globally at a macro level, the local church on the ground are continuing and have continued to serve children at risk. I was struck by this recently when I was able to speak to a member of the Viva team who is based in Cuba. Now, that's a country in crisis right now. And as usual in a crisis, it's children who bear the brunt of the pain. And as is also often the case, it's the people of God who are stepping up to do whatever they can to support children at risk. Now, it's risky to provide a summary of the past 30 years in a few minutes. And over the next few minutes, I'm going to take a decade by decade view. And the only way I can do that is to simplify and generalize greatly. So please do forgive me. But let's begin with decade one. And in decade one, we saw the rapid building of a movement. And it's truly remarkable how God worked in and through a small but increasingly growing band of volunteer pioneers. People gathered together, initially with the focus being on Latin America. There were regional gatherings and country gatherings, and out of these gatherings, networks in countries across Latin America were born, with El Salvador being the first officially. But it wasn't long before the idea was taking root globally. Alongside this, Viva, driven by the tenacity of Patrick, also did much to ensure that children at risk were recognised and understood more by the global church. Viva, working with other organisations like Compassion, led the way to develop a robust understanding of children at risk, ensuring that as they urged the global church to step up and make a difference, theological inspiration and motivation was accompanied by the very best of child development science, ensuring excellent practice. I want to make a couple of comparisons about the then and the now. It was during that first decade that the cutting edge conferences were launched that brought together on the ground practitioners with global organizations and academics. And last year we relaunched Cutting Edge, and we'll tell you more about this year's event later. And I've also mentioned that there was much academic rigour that Viva sought to bring to its work to ensure that the global church did better for children at risk during that first decade. Working with Oxford Centre of Mission Studies, a consultation was held, a statement on children at risk was created, and it included a whole global missions journal dedicated to the subject. And in recent years, thanks significantly to the contribution of Lucy Caggiadori, Viva's theology and practice researcher, this is a space we have very deliberately been re engaging with, including the publications of two books, God's Heart for Children, and then published this very week, 3 days ago, God's Heart for Child Protection and Safeguarding. And we'll be talking a little bit more about that later. So, if decade one was about the rapid building of a movement, decade two was a time of maturing, both in terms of honing the model and building capacity. Localization, organizational capacity building, and collective impact are all now buzz phrases in the development circles. They are the big ideas of today. But for Viva and our partner networks, it's what we've been doing for 30 years. And during the second decade, all the learning that was taking place around the world as churches and organizations in communities, cities, and countries worked together, a model began to emerge and be developed. A model of connecting, capacity building, collective action, and citywide influence. And this is still at the heart of our approach today. And in the desire for excellence to ensure that churches and faith based organisations were able to provide and were known for providing the best quality of care for children, the quality improvement system was developed. A verified 2 year programme in people care, governance, child safeguarding, planning and design, financial accountability, and child well-being, which Viva and our partner networks have now been running for almost 20 years. And in just the past few years, there has been a rapid rise of programs similar to QIS around the world. But the interest in the quality improvement system remains high because its ability, which sets itself apart from so many of the other programs that now exist around the world, is to help small churches and small organizations on the ground become much better. So then we finally move on to decade three. And decade three is characterized by the scaling and spreading of impactful programs. There were the creative learning centres in Uganda, which were a central component of our partner network's Crane 10-year UK government funded programme that impacted the lives of more than 10,000 girls, seeing excellent results in terms of education attainment and reduced teenage pregnancies. The model they developed, along with the learning spaces approach developed by our partner network, CARNET, in Nepal, then formed the basis of learning spaces, which have been adopted by other networks around the world, including Myanmar and Cambodia. And this led to the formation of the CAFI program, which is run in many countries across Latin America. And a timely interventions these were, because at the core was increasing pupil confidence and catch up education, which post the COVID-19 pandemic, catch up education became a key global priority when it came to children. It was also during the COVID pandemic in 2020 that Viva rapidly developed the phone mentoring program to support families in lockdown. Its approach that engaged both parents and children reached over 8,000 families and 26,000 children in just 6 months at the end of 2020. And it grabbed attention globally, including by Oxford University's Parenting for Lifelong Health and the Global Reference Group for Children Affected by Crisis. And this learning was then brought to Viva's Resilient Families program, written for Ukraine families at the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. And since then, that has become the foundational content for something called the Hope Groups, a parenting in adversities and crisis program, which is now being scaled rapidly. It's in the final stages of a randomized control trial, and it's already featured in The Lancet, a leading medical journal. We're now part of the Hope Group collaborative that's being spearheaded by World Relief. So we bring all this experience, all this learning through the success which I've just shared, But also behind that, there's challenges, there's mistakes, and all of that brings us into the present and as we look to the years ahead. And I'd like us to pause there. And again, I'd ask you to, in the chat, spend a couple of moments saying short prayers of thanks for all that God has done through the work of Viva and our partner networks, the work that's been made possible through our faithful supporters like you and our staff and volunteers over the years. So let's pause, and I encourage as many people as can to write prayers of thanks in the chat. Well, we heard from Faye at the beginning of our time together as she shared the story of those two girls. And now we're going to hear a little bit more from Faye about the Philippines Christian Ministry Network. I'm so grateful that we are able to speak to Faye, who is the director of our partner network in the Philippines Children Ministry Network. And as Viva celebrate our 30th birthday this year, PCMN in the Philippines, they recently, a couple of years ago, celebrated their 25th anniversary. So they are one of our longer established partner networks. So Faye, thank you so much for joining me today. And it would be great if you're able to briefly share how and why PCMN began.
Thank you, Phil. And I'm grateful also to be part of your celebration. PCMN began in 1998 on the inception with the church, including the PCEC, Philippine Council of Evangelical Churches, when the bishop at that time gathered all the ministries working with children and for children and shared the vision of working together. But this came from our founding director, who was P. Gutierrez, who was trained through the connection with Viva UK at the time. And then she came with that vision of unifying the work for children in the Philippines. And she connected with PCEC, which is the Philippine Council of Evangelical Churches, the third largest church council in the Philippines. And the bishop also caught that vision, and they met together with major ministries to children at the time, like World Vision, Compassion International, and engaged them to work together towards the safety and also the security of all children in the Philippines. And that was the beginning of PCN in the early years.
No, thank you. And you mentioned Viva within that. So the relationship with Viva goes right back to the beginning. Can you share a little bit more about the role Viva played in the early days?
Viva played a very crucial role. It modeled what a network is, because at that time there was no Christian network for children in the Philippines. It was unheard of. And we saw that the Global Viva Network is something that we want to do in the Philippines because it unites the work, it removes duplication, it encourages coordination among ministries and resource sharing for the benefit of children, at least in the country. And so we adopted that model from Viva in the early years.
So we've thought a little bit about the past, but now let's move into the present. So can you describe what does PCMN look like today?
PCMN is like a robust network, and we continue to grow actually. enlarging the territory and also engaging more stakeholders to this work on securing and protecting children at risk from further abuse and exploitation. And so we are now partnering heavily also with the city government and the government at large, like the national government and the local governments, because they are key and mandated by the law to protect children. But there is a gap in terms of law and also implementation. And I think there where PCMN could play a part. And also, other than that, we also have collaborative action in many parts of the country in humanitarian response, engaging churches, and also we are in other like youth formation and network formation also. Children in emergencies, we are responding to children affected by disaster and other man-made and natural emergencies. And lastly, currently, also with families, because families are key to protect children because they are the immediate environment of children, and they have also the role as parents to protect their own children.
So, just so people can understand, so the Philippines Children Ministry Network is a national network that brings together churches and organizations from across the Philippines, but you've also supporting local networks in cities across the Philippines. So how many local networks are now part of the Philippines Children Ministry Network?
Yeah, we have currently 8 organized networks, local networks in various cities and regions in the country.
Mm,
And we're still working on 2 emerging networks in 2 cities. So yes, that is also part of what we want to do, that children in all parts of the country are have access to
mm,
protective services. And there are churches and there are individuals who are protective of children.
mm. And just so we understand, in terms of those local networks, on average, how many churches or organizations would be part of one of those networks?
Yeah, on the average, around the 50 to 80, but the total number of churches working with us is 913 based on the database as of December 2025. So those are the number of churches we are currently working now.
Mm. So that is a really big reach that you have. And when you think of how many children will be connected to each one of those churches, that
Mm.
is a significant reach that you have across the Philippines, and no doubt partly why you're able to engage with the government because you're representing so many children, churches, and organizations. So I know one of your programs is Youth for Safety, and the Philippines Christian Ministry Network over the years has kind of really led the way when it comes to ensuring children and young people are participating in your programs and having a leadership role. So are you able to share a little bit more about the Youth for Safety program?
Yeah, it started in 2014 when we design a program for the youth. We believe in their capacity to engage us and also their peers to become a positive influence in the lives of children and young people. So from then on, we organize them nationally and also uh, regionally. There are now currently 9 chapters of the young people, and over 1,000 of them joined Youth for Safety organization, which was organized by PCMN. It was organized because they have the right to participate in matters that in concerns and issues that matters to them most. And for every program that we are implementing, we are consulting them through focus group discussion and getting on what do they think about this program that will be implemented. And they are part of shaping the programs of PCMN. So that's how we put premium on the participation of the youth and children in the country.
Thank you. And we've talked about the past, we've talked about the present, and now let's think about the future. And you've already mentioned how you supporting emerging networks, both in the Philippines and beyond. So why is that an important priority for you in building new networks?
We still want to continue growing because the situation of children is not, because even our existence for 25 years, the global setting and also the national setting in the country, there are emerging issues of children which are very damaging and harmful, like the online sexual abuse and exploitation of children. These are new crimes, and we haven't really scratched the surface on this, although we have been working for the last 7 years, and it is becoming a real menace to and a danger and harmful to children and even the whole country, the Philippines, because we are the hotspot for it. And so we want to continue on working on this. And we need a lot of partners, stakeholders, duty bearers to be able to cover the country and the most vulnerable areas where this crime is happening. And it has to be a one nation approach. So we work with government, uh, all of those like Department of Justice, like Department of Social Welfare and Development, Department of Education, Department of Interior, local and local government. So we need to work together to be able to cover the whole country and also to share from each other experiences and learn from it on how to best stop the exploitation of children in the country. And in the process also, we come across areas where we are still needed. So PCMN would want to still work with a lot of stakeholders in the country. That's why we are continually helping emerging networks and even working alongside bigger networks of churches already existing, not only starting from zero, but also working alongside others who are already there. And also, we would want to become an inspiration also for other countries like Indonesia to also form their own networks and see for themselves how they could further elevate and scale up the work that they've been doing by working together and collaborating with each other. So I think I find inspiration in people being grouped and collaborating among each other to further the cause of protection of children. So I like PCMN to be still engaged on those things even beyond our borders.
Well, I hope you appreciated hearing from Faye about the amazing work that the Philippines Children Ministry Network have been doing for about 27 years now and continue to do. And I'm going to reference some of what Faye's been saying over the next few minutes as I talk a little bit more about our future priorities as Viva. But before I do, let me pause once again, and it would be great if you would be willing to write prayers of thanks or prayers of supplication in the chat. So I will pause for a few moments to allow you to focus your attention on turning some of what we have just heard from Faye into prayer. As we've been approaching our 30th birthday, it's given us a lot of opportunity to not only reflect on the past, but think about where we're going in the future, because we strongly believe that we're not done yet, both in terms of tragically, the need for children around the world is still great. But we also believe that what Viva can offer the world is still significant. So we don't think God is done with us yet either. So over the next few minutes, I'm going to share a little bit about how we are really refocusing our efforts for the future. And this has caused us to ask ourselves three strategic questions over the past year and a half now. And they are now our three strategic priorities. Beth, if you could move the slide on, that would be great. Thank you. So, firstly, it's about connected networks. It's about Viva and our role as facilitating a global network of networks. Over recent years, it's been more of a hub and spoke model with Viva, the organization in the middle, and networks around the world around it in spokes. But what we are really trying to embrace now is much more of a network approach where it is us facilitating the connections that these networks have with one another. Faye and the Philippines Christian Ministry Network need very little from us in terms of technical expertise, for example. They have it in the bucket loads. We now see our role is how do we connect the amazing work that they are doing in the Philippines and their amazing expertise? How do we enable other networks around the world to benefit from what they're doing in the Philippines? And likewise, there are networks in Latin America that could really help the Philippines in what they're doing as well. So we are now approaching our role much more as facilitating a global network of networks. And we believe that that will enable us to have a far greater voice together as a network of networks. So our role becomes more about facilitating, it comes about representing, and increasingly about how do we create platforms so that our partner networks and the children that are part of them have their voices amplified onto the global stage. Secondly, it's going to be about new networks. We believe our role should be catalyzing new citywide collective action for children. We believe the vision of life in all its fullness for every child is a great vision. We know that the need is great, and we believe that the approach of churches working together in communities, cities, and countries, we believe it works, and therefore we want to see more of it happening. So we believe that that is a key role for us. And we really want to develop a journey and an approach, which I'll talk a little bit more later on about as well. That what does it take for us to intensely work with a new network for 5 years to take them from zero to being fully thriving, that in 5 years' time they don't need Viva anymore. Yes, they might choose to become part of the Viva network globally and be part of that global community of learning. But after 5 years, they should be good to go because they've got everything they need to run a successful network in their city. We imagine that in some places it will look like it has done over the past 30 years with a network emerging from scratch. However, we also know that around the world things are very different now. And in most of the major cities, there is some form of church unity, Christians working together in cities to bring about social transformation. But as we've connected with these groups in cities around the world, what we're realizing is that often they're not focusing on children. They're not doing anything for children, or if they are, it's not necessarily that strategic. So we think there is a role for us to walk alongside these groups that already exist, these networks that already exist, to help them do something for children. And that enables us to support a lot more people because they've already got the infrastructure, they've already got the basic network in place. We just need to help them do more for children. And that was what Faye was talking about there in the Philippines. They now no longer go into a new city and start from scratch. Instead, they go into a city where there already is a strong network of churches working together, and they help those city church networks establish a children commission to address the issues for children in their cities. And that's an approach we plan to adopt globally as well. And finally, we are committed to seeing active networks. So we will collaborate with networks on programs. And we increasingly recognize, as the first story we heard from Faye in the Philippines, right at the beginning of the meeting today, is that children faces complex challenges. And a collaborative response is the only solution because one church, one organization, they can't address all the needs that face children. We need to work together. So Viva remains committed in helping our partner networks design and implement great programs. And increasingly, our focus will be on where collaboration is a really core part of that program. And also recognizing our partner networks have so much to learn from each other. So recently, the Philippines, you will have heard today how much expertise that they have developed around online sexual exploitation of children. So, helping them work with other partner networks around the world to create programs that will benefit children in other countries as well. So that's a glimpse of our priorities and where we're going to focus our attention as Viva over the coming years. And before we move on, I've just asked three of our staff to share reflections about how they're finding and what they think of where Viva is at the moment. So I'm going to ask Kizia, Isaac, and Beth to share brief reflection. So we're going to start with Kizia, who is based in the UK, and she is our Chief Operating Officer. And she has been with Viva getting on close to 15 years now. So she's almost been with Viva for half our life. So, Kizia, can you share your reflection, please?
Yeah, so the thing I'm most excited about is the feeling of how closely we're walking alongside our partner networks at the moment. We're really putting a lot of things in place so that we can listen to them and work with them. And it's really exciting to hear ideas coming up from them, see them starting to get to know each other across different regions and really feel like we're able to listen to them and work closely with them to develop exciting things. So.
Thank you, Kizia. And you'll be hearing a little bit more from her later. And now we're going to go to Isaac, who is based in Paraguay. And he has been with Viva now for coming up to 7 years. So almost kind of a quarter of Viva's life. So, Isaac, can you share why you're excited about Viva at the moment?
Yeah, thank you, Phil. And it's very good and happy to be with you all here. And for me, it's very exciting this refocused of Viva because we are now very intentionally doing this from and with our partner networks. This has always been part of our DNA, but now we are taking it to a new level of synergy across all the networks globally. And that truly inspired me is that the world right now is increasingly focused on real and in real sustainable change that moves from local to global. And Viva is becoming, because that one of the reference in this area, because we put this theory of change in becoming a reality. So we are here, I'm sure, to help change story for children through collective action that start locally and create impact globally in unity and synergy.
Thank you, Isaac. And we're going to be hearing from Isaac in a few minutes as well. So we now go to Beth, who is by a whisker, our second newest member of staff. And she has been with us for the last, since January, I think. So, Beth is based in the UK. Can you share your reflection about Viva?
Yeah. Um, I I have loved my time at Viva so far. I think what I've loved the most, and it has been talked about a lot, is just the collaboration between partner networks and Viva. It's the definition of collaboration. It's not one working for the other. And I studied international development at university, and that's something that I really picked out. The importance of working together and collaborating with each other, and actually being in the UK and learning so much from the people that I've had the chance to work with in so many other countries, being a part of global forums where we talk about safeguarding, and people just wanting to learn more and learn from each other. I think Viva's approach of collaboration is truly inspiring, and as we can see, the last 30 years has brought a lot of change. So it's very exciting to be part of.
Great. Thank you, Beth. And it's great to have you as part of the team. So, as I mentioned earlier, new networks are going to be a really key focus for us in the coming months. And what's been exciting over the past year is just how much energy this idea has had from our existing partner networks who are really keen to support establishing new networks and really want to be part of a growing movement globally. So here are some of the countries where we have the opportunity to support new networks. So the countries in white: El Salvador, Venezuela, Peru, Argentina, and India. These are all countries where we're now actively fundraising so we can support new networks that are emerging there. You will notice that if you are familiar with Viva's work around the world, these are countries where we have partner networks already. So these are all countries where they are thinking about establishing networks in different cities, or currently they are national networks, but they want to now go and have a greater priority in creating local networks within that national framework. And then it's really testing your eyesight, really, isn't it? Because if you can tell the difference between the white and the green, you're doing quite well. But if you can, the ones in green are Sierra Leone, Zimbabwe, Pakistan, and Indonesia. And these are all places where we are in conversations at the moment about the possible emergence of networks that Viva may be able to support. So we are going to spend the next 15 minutes in Latin America. And we're going to be talking particularly about Venezuela and Peru. And I think Maritza, who is the director of our partner network in Venezuela, is on our call today. It's great that you're able to join us. And Isabel from Peru, maybe, but I think I might have missed her if she is. And they may well be around at the end when we have some question and answers if you would like to talk more for them. But for the purpose of the next 15 minutes and because of language, we have captured some of them on film, and we have used AI to translate that. And we're also going to be hearing from Isaac, who is the Viva network coach. So he supports both our partner networks in Peru and Venezuela. So we're going to hear from him. So let's begin by hearing a little bit from Maritza about what partner network in Venezuela looks like at the moment.
Hello, I am Maritza Sibila and I represent Renacer. The network is a non-profit sustainable organization created in the year 2002 and focused on serving children and adolescents.
We are inspired by the word of God when Jesus said, "Let the children come to me and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these."
We are characterized by always being a servant leader, supportive of children and their rights, a defender and mediator with fraternal pedagogy. As a network, our vision is to be a reference in offering services that help children know Jesus and the biblical principles for their integral development. Our mission is to promote and develop programs of spiritual aid and comprehensive training for the care of children and adolescents in order to contribute to solving the socio-emotional, moral, and spiritual issues they face. We are made up of a national leadership team and have networks of teams throughout the country. We have fundamental programs to support the church, the family, the school, and the community. We also offer diploma courses, workshops, seminars, and talks. And we are in Caracas, in Nueva Esparta, in Anzoátegui, in Sucre, in Bolívar,
in Delta Amacuro, in Miranda,
in La Cuadira, in Cabimas, and from there we serve the whole country. Contact us and discover more about our services. We will be attentive to assist you.
Well, it's great to hear about the network, and also a little bit scary how good AI now is. But we are now going to hear from Isaac, who is their network coach. So, Isaac, thanks so much for joining us today. And the Venezuelan network sits within the Evangelical Alliance, meaning it is a national network of more than 1,000 churches. But in recent years, they've been increasingly looked to work locally, and they're now really wanting to focus on supporting local networks of about 10 to 15 churches in 9 cities. So why is this? Why is there this desire to focus more locally now?
Yes, as you mentioned, Phil, this network, this national network has grown a lot. So they are growing in local spaces right now, in regional, in country, and locally. But it's not possible just for one national team attending all the issues in different cities. So the network are strengthening locally, and right now they want to create local response because there are specific urgent and needs that affecting children in each city that it's different, and the local churches want to develop context specific response to address these needs, and local leaders recognize that national leadership and Viva can support them in designing and strengthening effective response that generate local impact for the most vulnerable children. And this help them to have more resources, their own resources internally. That means locally. So the local churches start to generate their own responses, always knowing that they could be supported by the national, but in a more autonomy in their response.
Thanks, Isaac. And how will Maritza and her team in Venezuela be supporting these emerging local networks? And what will we as Viva hopefully be doing to support them as well?
Yes, Renaxative, the national network, provides a strong building capacity system and a basic structure for local network, which Viva before teach and work with them and support. And we as Viva, we inspire and envision local churches to create local networks with meaningful impact for children through collective action. So the national network values this mutual approach because it strengthens internal collaborations and creates opportunity to expand or external influence. So this is a response that the local churches want to do, so we strengthening the local response for the specific urgence. And this, I need to say, in this very difficult moment in Venezuela, all of you know the the situation, the political and social situation in Venezuela is very, very hard. So the unique response right now is the local response. So the people from the city and the church right now want to create answers according to their own context because it's impossible in other way.
Thank you. And as you'll remember, I was saying towards the beginning of our time together, and Venezuela is another example of where there are big political shifts and all kinds of things going on. It is so often the people of God working together to make an impact in the lives of the most vulnerable on the ground in their communities. So we've heard a little bit about Venezuela. We're now going to hear a little bit from Peru. So again, we're going to begin by hearing from Isabel, who is the coordinator of our partner network in Peru, and Isaac interviewed her yesterday. And this is just a short snippet from her before Isaac shares a little bit more.
I am Isabel Gonzalez, founding CEO of Viva Network Peru. Viva Network Peru is a network that works with commitment, faith, and action for migrant and Peruvian children in vulnerable situations. We believe, right, in the power of networks, that there is a transformation when we work in unity in service to migrants. Our ability to inspire collective actions makes us different, since our action is networked. We unite allows many groups of people to do what a single person or a single church could not do. So together we can do more. What has been our impact? Currently, we have more than 1,500 children served, including migrant and Peruvian children. We have 19 CAFI. This is a comprehensive learning center where the church, school, or any institution opens its doors to serve children and adolescents once a week for 2 hours in a comprehensive manner, teaching them education, protection, and giving them hope. Where do we have these comprehensive learning centers? Of course, in the capital, Lima. That's where it all started from. The time of the pandemic, and then we expanded to Lambayeque, which is a province of Peru, and currently also in Ica, which is another province of Peru. How has this expansion been done? Through the same churches that are passing by, right? The testimony and the work unanimously. Among pastors, they communicate and observe the work, right? The growth in the family, in the community, and how the church has impacted the community socially in a comprehensive way, where families express themselves. They not only provide me with a spiritual foundation, but also a comprehensive social foundation, where the child and adolescent are attended to comprehensively. And in that way, many churches and pastors communicate and spread the word in one way or another and start contacting us. That's how we've grown. That's how it has expanded, because we share a mission, and we always say we are a network. What motivates us? We are motivated to address the needs of vulnerable children, highlighting the fundamental role of the local church as the main provider of support, where churches understand and realize that they have an impact on their society and that we should not wait for someone to give us something, but rather they themselves must take collective actions for the comprehensive care of children and adolescents.
I love the contagious nature of networks in this example as churches get excited about how they can support at-risk children and their families. And with Isabel's passion, I can easily imagine that it won't be long until there is a network of churches working together for children in every single city in Peru.
Yeah.
But Isaac, can you briefly share what the initial steps will be and the initial steps that are being taken this year as these new networks emerge and what Viva hopes to be able to do to support them as they do this?
Okay, yes, the first action we have taken is to inspire the leaders, local leaders, to engage and motivate other leaders to join into the vision. This passionate kind of leadership is already showing positive results because the first leader are inspiring to other new leaders. And so now we could see new structure, new leadership teams locally. So they are establishing their own leadership teams in Lambayeque and in Ica. It's not just the Lima ones. So truly the church are joining in the mission and members are receiving training in the core programs. And right now we are beginning to planning the situational mapping in Lambayeque and in Ica, leveraging both the research and the relationships building process during the mapping for expanding the membership and increase the impact. At the same time, the national network based in Lima is starting to train local leaders as champion of the network in network development and in other key programs like protection and education in order to deepen learning and scale collective action for children in Lambayeque and Ica. But the most important thing is how the churches and the pastor feel inspiring because they are watching how this network is growing in impact and in influence. And I want to say that on the beginning, during the pandemic, no one know this network. So on the beginning was difficult to gain the trust of many churches, but they are working with very discipline and constantly and gain the trust one churches, other churches, and then we as Viva help them to have good allies with new stakeholders, other organization, other denomination. We open door for them, and the denomination open opportunity for the network. And right now, there are hundreds of churches that want to be part of this network that right now are in expansion.
Thank you, Isaac. And it's so encouraging to hear what is happening in both Venezuela and Peru. And we thank Isaac for what he does to support the work of our partner networks and their expansion in both these countries. I'm going to pause. And again, if you could turn to the chat and write prayers asking God to bless the work of churches and these wonderful teams in Venezuela and Peru. And then, in case you're wondering, we will be finishing the program in about 20 minutes from now. And then there will be an opportunity for you to stay and ask questions afterwards. No expectation that you will do so, but we'll be wrapping up in about 20 minutes. But I'll pause for another 30 seconds so we can write prayers for Venezuela and Peru. Now, we are going to stay on the topic of new networks, but we are going to shift continent and we are going to move to Africa and specifically Sierra Leone. So I am going to hand over to Kizia, who I introduced earlier, and she is going to interview Paul, who is our network coach based in Africa. So Kizia, over to you.
Thanks, Phil. Yeah, Paul, would you be able to share a little bit of the background of what's been emerging in Sierra Leone after the past few years and how you and Viva have been a part of that?
Thank you very much. Sierra Leone, somebody from Sierra Leone came and consulted us and said, we want to begin a network in our country. How can we do that? Viva, please help us do this. So we told them that it will be important to know what the context is, why you want to start a network, why that is important for you. And having had those discussions, we then suggested to them, could you find out who is involved in working children in the city? What are they doing and what are the gaps? And that might be a premise for you to begin to find out who you can work with, which other churches and Christians are working to respond to issues affecting children. And as those discussions unfolded, we're now at a place where they've done the situational mapping, they've started meeting, and the network is forming. So over the past years, we've been having discussions back and forth, and we're at a place where this network is what we see as the first stage of network formation within Sierra Leone. So that's where we are at the moment.
It's exciting. And you were actually able to go and visit recently after all these meetings online and on the phone. How was that for you? And did you also learn something about the issues affecting children in the city there?
Yes, I did. First of all, we wanted to understand what the things affecting children, what's the situation like. And some of the rough figures are that about 6 to 8% of the children are covered by social protection. Only 6 to 8% of the children learned that 20% of the children are out of school, and those who are in school have a very poor quality of education. 30% of the girls are likely to get married before the age of 18, and almost all the children, 90%, experience some form of violence within in that city of Freetown. As a country, that's the same percentage, really. So there's a big need for someone to respond to the issues affecting children, and we know that by working together, that provides an opportunity for getting inwards in how we support children in that country. So big opportunity, many players, but all are working in isolation. And it's an opportunity for us to grab them, put them together in one box and say, let's go for it.
And was there something about visiting that helped you to understand the network better? Did you find it opened your eyes a bit?
Yes, a lot of things. As the network is forming, one of the assumptions we have is that everything is now solid, they're working together. But by visiting, then I realized that, the network formation process is one where you need to be working alongside somebody. They're forming, but not yet formed. I visited who they felt we are their partners, and they're wondering, we've not signed off on the dotted line that we are part of one family. And so there's a big need for them to know, how do you formalize this whole process of working together? When you come together, what do you need to be doing? Who are you working with? And helping them to see that. I discovered that there are many other strategic players that the current people have not yet thought about. UNICEF is there. I said, please visit UNICEF. What are they doing? Save the Children, Plan International. These are organizations that are working with children. Scripture Union is working with children. So I realized that whereas they had all these people around them, the current network members had not yet visited them, and they don't know how it unfolds. But also my assumptions as I think about the network rolling out is that it's now getting solid. It has a guiding coalition, it has people supporting it. And then when we talk, I then realize actually they do not know as much as they're supposed to know, and they still need a lot of support in growing, in working together. So that was very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how were you able to support them during the visit and also going forward in the next few months?
Let me start with the exciting one today. So as part of my discussions with the team back at home, we discovered that World Vision actually has an office in Sierra Leone.
Okay.
and we say, well, can we do any connections? How do we get in touch with World Vision? This morning, I had a meeting with somebody in World Vision, and we talked about all kinds of roads they could open for us and for the network, who they need to get connected to. And they said, we're willing to broker and create those bridges. And so that's one of those kinds of support that we are working on. We went into UNICEF and we started knocking the door. What are you doing in UNICEF? What are the priorities for protecting children? And they've said they would want to get back to us, and we see what we begin some relationship. Visited Save the Children, and we want to push that. And World Vision is going to help push that forward. How can we interact more? So that's one of the roles that I'm working on. The other was to help them to say to work out and develop things like simple terms of reference for. You have a working group. What does it mean? You have a board or steering group for the network. What are their roles? So we've been working on writing out what those could be like, and to ensure that they have them run together. I help them, for example, develop a small little form where they can register their members, have a profile of the members, and make sure that they have a good understanding of who's going to be part of the network. And one of the things I recommended to them was, can you get those members to meet in one room and talk about the fact that we are going to work together, we're determined, and this is a great idea. 2 weeks ago they did. They've met and they're getting excited about the whole idea. They've nominated a steering group to support the network to function. And so it seems like we are gaining traction with what's going on there. So it's exciting things unfolding in Sierra Leone.
What are you hoping to see over the next few months, or the next, if you can tell?
Yeah, one of the things I'm hoping is going to happen is one, they're going to be participating in what we call the Viva programs, the World Weekend of Prayer coming up this month, next month. We see them, picking up the Good Treatment campaign and working together. I see them getting a strong steering committee, which I'm hoping to meet in 2 weeks' time to know how they support the network, and to begin to think about what are the small things we can do together. Starting from, can we meet together to pray about the work we're doing? And from that, will something new spring up? Otherwise, in the next near future, this year, I think they'll have at least 2 what we call thematic or working groups. One focusing on child safeguarding, and they're thinking about one focusing on family support. Family support is a thing they're pursuing. I'd want to see those hopefully into working groups where people meet together, and where the rubber touches the tarmac, where they get things to happen, talk about what they're learning, what they're doing, and how they can do them better. So I see that taking root sooner than later, hopefully for the end of this calendar year.
Wonderful. It's really exciting to hear about that and to really see it emerging as we journey together with them over these months. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Kizia and Paul. And hopefully that gave you a little bit of an insight of some of the role that Viva plays when a new network is emerging, and how we can bring through people like Paul that 30 years of experience from our partner networks around the world, and all the great work that they have done, all the lessons they and we have learned as a result, and how that can all be taken by someone like Paul, and that then an emerging network in Sierra Leone can develop and hopefully emerge and come into life over the weeks and months to come. I'm going to pause there again, and I'm loving reading your prayers on chat. So thank you very much for engaging in that way throughout our time together today. But would love it if, for the final time, that you could turn to chat and pray for Sierra Leone. as we begin to draw our time to a close, I would like to thank you for your support, because many of you here today do make everything you've heard today possible. There are many of our individual supporters. I know that some of our trusts and foundations are either here with us or will be watching this on the recording in the days to come. And we also have the director of Viva Denmark here as well. And we are so grateful for Viva Denmark, and they specifically fund and support programs that are conducted in the Philippines and in Zimbabwe and Honduras. So much of what you heard Faye share about is made possible because of the fundraising efforts of Viva in Denmark. So we're very grateful for them. But we are grateful for each one of you. Many of you have faithfully supported Viva with regular donations over many years now. And you've heard from Paul and Isaac tonight, and that's the work that you're funding. So all the work that Paul and Isaac are doing to support the networks that you've heard about today, the emerging one in Sierra Leone, the great work in Venezuela, in Peru, and what might emerge there, that's what you're making possible. So thank you for enabling us to better support networks so they can do more together and do it better, because ultimately that enables more impact in the lives of children, and that's what this is all about. As we celebrate our 30th birthday this year, I would love to take this opportunity to encourage you to consider making a special gift this year so that we can do more in the years to come. We're not done yet, and we want to use this as an opportunity to speed ahead into the future. I've mentioned how grateful we are for our regular donors. So I would invite you to become a regular donor. If you could support what you've heard about tonight with a monthly donation, or if you are a regular donor, if you're in the position to increase your monthly donation, it will enable us to expand our plans in the year ahead. And also in our 30th year, there's something else that's going to be happening, that some of our staff and some of our volunteers and some of our supporters are going to be doing all kinds of fundraising events, whether it's organising tea parties or doing challenges. In fact, Beth, who you heard about, who you heard from earlier today, announced to the team yesterday that in November she's going to be doing a half marathon raising money for Viva, and I've just now told the world that this is what she's going to be doing, so I have secured this now and she can't go back. So if you would like to raise money in a creative way for Viva, we would love to hear from you, and get in touch with Beth and you can join her in her fundraising plans over the months to come. The other idea we want to share with you tonight is around our plans of how we think we are going to be able to support new networks. And we want to do this through making really strong connections. So here's the idea. What would it look like if a group of individuals, or maybe a group of families, or a group of churches got together in a city in the UK or in the US or Hong Kong, and they came together to say, we want to support an emerging network in a city around the world. And then Viva would be able to connect that group of maybe a few of your friends or a group of churches. We can help connect to a partner network in a city around the world. And ideally, we'd connect a group of donors from a city in, say, the US with a group of donors in that city in Guatemala or that city in Brazil. So you've got two groups of donors that are coming together to support churches as they begin their efforts to work together for children in the city. And then together as the network, as groups of donors, and as Viva, we go on a 5-year journey together to take that network from zero to fully flourishing and seeing more impact in the lives of children in that city. And because our partner networks and the emerging networks we are looking to support are in so many different contexts around the world, the level of giving can vary kind of greatly. So if a donor circle could contribute $10,000, some networks, that would be amazing for us to be able to support them and kickstart their work. While other networks, we know that if we could raise $50,000 a year for 5 years, that would enable them to kind of accelerate into the future. So whatever your giving potential of your group of churches or your group of friends or your group of families, whether it's relatively small or whether it's medium or whether it's large, there will be a city in the world and children in those cities that could really develop. And we can talk about the level of connection and involvement. It might be that you want to visit in year 1 and in year 5. It might be that you don't want to visit. It might be that you want to have Zoom calls with the network coordinators every few months. But we want to create this as a journey, an adventure that you can be involved with together. Because we believe that by working together, more children will have life in all its fullness. And so will you if you join an adventure like this. So if you want to hear more about that idea, please feel free to reach out to me. And also, I think we're going to post an information pack in the chat as well, which you can download to read more about that idea. So the final 2 things from me before we formally close today's session is firstly, cutting edge. So on the 1st of July, we have our next Cutting Edge conference, and this is very much aimed at new and emerging networks. So this will be an opportunity to gather people from around the world who are thinking about working together in their communities, in their cities, in their countries to make more impact in the lives of children. It will also be a great opportunity for those who want to learn about Viva's 30 years of experience and how that could support what you might be thinking about in your city. And it will be an opportunity for potential funders to see what our approach is and meet some of the partner networks that are thinking about launching. So that's on the 1st of July. Registration is now open for that, and there is a link in the chat for that as well. And then finally, as I mentioned at the beginning, on the 11th of November, that is when we're planning a big global online birthday celebration that will be for networks, it will be for staff and volunteers, it will be for board members, it will be for supporters past and present, and we hope for future supporters and staff and networks as well. So do put that date in your calendar and we will share more information about that in due course. So thank you so much for participating in this event today. We really appreciate having you join us. I'd like to thank the staff team at Viva for all you've done to make today's event a success, and all our partner networks that have joined the call as well. We thank you so much for all your work day by day to enable churches in your communities make more impact in the lives of children.